you want to belong to a certain cultural capital, which is right now dictated by brands, not by organizations, not by artists, not by anything. And it happens universally. So in that sense, Athens isn't, and Greece in general, isn't that much of a, it isn't that different. You may have you may experience trends first in, I don't know, New York or, the capital, but eventually they come.
Hip Replacement episode number 23, named for, Michael Jordan, obviously. It isn't really.
About that
sorry. We just got to, shout out Gen X icons wherever we can, because, we're really going through it right now.
That is your job, to represent them. So you're doing a very good job of representing the Gen X icons.
Oh, Kyle, flattery will get you everywhere. We are joined today by Ilia-Sybil Sdralli, and excuse me if I butchered your name there, Ilia, but who runs the Style Title newsletter and is calling in from a blistering Athens. Kyle, how did we find ourselves here with Ilia?
So, I mean, you did a great introduction already, but Ilia runs Style Title, which is a very fabulous fashion, culture, online, offline newsletter. Ilia and I have talked for a while. We've sort of like been in contact for many, many months. I think probably like right at the beginning of the year, like we did Ilia interviewed me, and it was a very fabulous sort of chat about the death of trends. Which I think we were sort of like in that, in those coal mines of death of trends conversation before they like really took off. So it was very funny that like, not very funny, but like it was a great conversation that I felt like I kept having that conversation like for months after that conversation. So welcome, Ilia.
Because it makes sense to interview someone who writes the trend report for a feature on the death of trends. It makes perfect sense,
Yeah. Well, hey, I didn't think about that, but here we are.
Well, look, normally we start with a Gen X complaint, and we can certainly do that. But I will say the death of trends has been hot on the lips of everybody, including there was just a dismissal of trend piece stories this morning from Jason Diamond, who writes The Melt, about it was in response to one of the links that I shared with you guys, and we'll go backwards, Gen Z, up today. But the performative male story in the New York Times.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So Jason, who I think is an elder millennial, was just like, we're out of ideas. There are no more trends. There's no more nothing. It's just all done. This is stupid. Goodbye. Kind of thing. It sounded like maybe his baby hadn't slept very well the night before or something like that. He was angry. but I guess the performative male thing, I'm so eager to understand this, because it just seems bizarre that we're commenting like, who cares? It's like guys who want to be attractive to girls in a soft boy way. Like,
yeah, but it used to be like that all the time. I mean, we used to
I agree.
pretend. I mean, we always do that. The thing here is that we are borrowing the visual cues from TikTok rather than creating the trend ourselves. Because I used to be a goth, all right? But back then we were the ones who actually dressed the part, and there were no TikTok trad goth or whatever to represent us. So it's an old story actually when it comes to dressing, when it comes to fashion. But now we've dissected it into micro trends, and that's making it really funny, I think.
It's also like the thing to me too is that like, and I agree completely, like that, like this is a tale as old as time, and like it's really just sort of like TikTok coming to life on two specifically male straight legs.
Yeah.
But I think it's something that like to me, and I think the larger conversation, which like it keeps the thing that is always missing in these conversations that like sort of like it doesn't frustrate me, but I'm just shocked it doesn't go here, is that like all of this is about like, like using, say, consumer products to sort of like
Yeah.
make yourself stand out, which is like the
Right.
irony of it, like not it's doing the exact opposite of that. That's exactly why it's performative. But also it's like it's something that like I feel like there's like four or five trends that have happened this summer about around that conversation of like, either like Zero Labubu, Zero Love Island, whatever, performative
Yeah.
male. The latest one is like never in my I'm the first one in my lineage to hear this combination of words. These things sort of get at
Ooh.
this like, you're reacting to, the sort of like machine of fake language.
Yeah.
That's all corporate language of like, I am taking my labubu to kava to have a matcha boba. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's all sort of like funny now words that are all, and like boba and matcha are not a brand, but like they tie
It's
into sort of
name
like branded
dropping.
culture, which is
We
yeah,
used to call
Well,
it
I
name
mean,
exactly.
it's
dropping. We used to call
Yeah,
it in
yeah,
what
fashion. We used to call it name dropping actually years ago.
I love that. Yeah,
what
exactly right.
okay, so fine, it is corporate language at its heart.
Yeah,
Fine, it is not a new phenomenon. It's just in a semi-new wrapper or in a wrapper for this summer or whatever. Fine that it's sort of super superfluous or whatever. But like, why is everybody turned up about it in that case? Like, if it's so easy for the three of us to just be like, this is
yeah.
nonsense, how come everybody else cares?
So here, to me, my take on this is that it's like it's such a like people get so worked up about this because I feel like it's like when I don't know, like let's say it's a girls and gays thing of like they were doing the Labubu and they were doing the Trader Joe's tote bag or whatever. Like when they do it, it's like sort of like I was a Christopher Columbus and I discovered this thing and it's fine. But then when you see somebody else doing it, it's like, well, you bought that. You bought it.
Is
Like I didn't
is
buy it. I
anybody
discovered it.
claiming Christopher Columbus right now? By the way,
No.
like,
Well, I mean, I feel like it used to be a term. Like, I actually think it was a Gen X term. That's how I found it. It was like Columbusing or whatever. It was like I think it was mentioned technically. I forget the name of the author in the hipster handbook from like 2002. It was like there was a whole
okay,
like
got it.
conversation about that in there. But like this, I didn't
So
make that up.
it was a very fetch term at the time.
Literally
Oh,
probably in the
Jesus
same
Christ.
sentence with the word fetch too. But like that, like it to me, that's sort of like what it is. Like that's why I get so frustrated with the conversation. And I think that's sort of like what Ilya and I we talked about earlier in the year about like the death of trends. That like it's not necessarily that trends have ended. It is just that like everything is so much a product, and we all know this. And
Yeah.
that's why it's so frustrating when it's like when you're calling it out, you're using them products to then call out the product, and it's like the answer is like go to the thrift store, go to the vintage store, like go talk to someone in real life. Like don't hop on the like product machine to talk about like it's like what so it's sort of like it's like a great basicing. Like I feel like every just getting more and more basic and like they're pretending that's not happening.
Yeah.
I don't
So
know.
You know,
okay, so here's a question, Ilya, for you. That story was about a gathering of performative male. It was a performative male off in Seattle. Obviously, these are signs and signifiers that I see everywhere in
yeah.
Brooklyn, and in New York. I would just given Barcelona as a tourist destination, I'd imagine Kyle is seeing a lot of it there. But do we see this in Athens too? Is it truly
Yeah.
a pan Western world thing, or even a pan
Um,
world, like an
we
international thing?
we don't host uh c- we don't host competitions if that's what you're asking so far as far as I know.
True.
But
True.
No, no.
but it's very interesting to discuss it because I was in my summer house, which is in a really, really remote place in Greece, not on a tourist island, not at all. And there I sold a bunch of fake labubus, and I got myself trying to obtain a fake labubu for my handbag, which is something If you, it, it's as close to insanity as ever I've been, and then I realized that it's because of the cultural capital it brings. You want to
Yeah.
belong to a certain
Yeah.
cultural capital, which is right now dictated by brands, not by organizations, not by artists, not by anything. And it happens universally. So in that sense, Athens isn't, and Greece in general, isn't that much isn't that different. You may have you may experience trends first in, I don't know, New York or the capitals, but eventually they come in every
Sure.
place. Yeah,
It,
Well,
it,
I was
that's the
gonna say
funny
is that
thing.
like
That's the
it's
funny thing. You
actually
can't avoid them. You can't avoid them. You see them
yeah
everywhere.
yeah like I think that we have that in Barcelona,
Hmm.
but it's like I think Barcelona and Athens are very similar. I know we've talked about
Yeah.
this Ilia as well. Is that like they're very similar. But like I have seen Labubus are everywhere. Like that's everywhere. I'm shocked that they've actually been everywhere. For like they hit at the same time, like literally everywhere. But like the thing that I've seen more is like more of the like the actual like the performative male thing of the like the Trader Joe tote bag, the like Sally Rooney, the like I forget what
Yeah.
matcha, whatever. Like
The
Right,
those
John,
yeah.
things
the
I've
John
seen more in
book.
like yeah, exactly. Like I've seen that in like London, Paris, uh Copenhagen,
Oh, it's here as well.
Stockholm. Like
It's here
I
as
don't
well.
see it in the more touristy like where I live, where you live, Ilya, like where it's more like
Yeah.
ironically where there are more people from around the world, there's less of that. The plugged
Yeah,
in
because
people,
they come when they come on vacation, they change the rules. They don't feel that much
totally fair.
obliged to perform because we talk about
That's true.
performative. I mean, when you
Yeah.
relax
Interesting.
during the summer, you don't care. And then you come back
Yeah.
and you obtain the role again, the role of being in the know. See?
Yeah. As I was gonna say,
See,
like the other thing that happens too is like there's a at least in the and Ben, I would love to get your input on this. Is like there's at least if as I know I used to do this is like when you are an American going abroad on vacation, it's a performance. It's a performance of like,
yeah.
oh, I
Oh
gotta
yeah.
like look cool for these Europeans or whatever. And like to that point, you're not gonna bring the Trader Joe's tote bag. You're gonna bring like your nicer tote bag or your nicer whatever, and just be like sort of like dress up and peacock a little bit to be like, I'm like you, and it's like you actually doing the exact opposite because like no one looks like this.
That's right. I'm bringing my Tampico tote
Yeah,
bag that I got at Printemps.
exactly.
Yeah. No, I suppose that's I mean, that would certainly be true when I was traveling as a single person, or if my wife and I
Fair.
were traveling by ourselves. I think when we travel with the kids, it's a little bit like, you know, my kids would never say this to me as much as it would make me smile to do that. But I'd be too, chopped and unk if if I did that with my kids.
Fair.
By the same token, yeah, I think look, it's. Well, I think that's changed a little bit though too, Kyle, especially since you've been out of the country, or living abroad. I don't know that anybody really wants to wear the American brand on
Totally.
blast like that over the last couple of years. It's not the thing
Yeah.
you want people to judge you by first, and for good reason, in my opinion. So anyway, that's my take on it. All right. Well,
Sure.
okay. So speaking of what the Gen Zs are up to, then, since we're going in that order, the one of the other stories that bounced around a lot in our show prep was this one about the FT about how AI and digital tools have changed the way young
Yeah.
people socialize and date in what feels like a really dark sort of way. Including a story that Ilya sent about how AI companion users were falling for their replica app companions. Again, I have a similar sort of question to the performative male thing. I'm just like, okay, is this actually a problem? Is it actually bleak, or is it just like we found the one guy and we're using him or her as an avatar for a thing that isn't actually real?
the use of AI or the use of AI for therapy is a real thing. Like that's like the number. Like I think
Sure.
during like there was like a lot of people are actually using it. Is it actually a problem? I don't know. Like I think it. Who knows? Like are people actually using it for like, oh, like I've encountered physical abuse and I'm trying to recover from it. Like, can you help me, AI? Like, I don't know about that. It might be like, oh, my
That's
friend was
bleak.
weird on the phone. Do they hate me? But like, granted, I feel like
Hmm.
the latter is
Why
a bit
would you ask an
worse.
AI
I
that?
don't know.
It's so stupid.
People. That's I
No,
think this is
I
what
get it. I mean, that's just it's so
but
ridiculous. Anyway,
that's what this gets at. Like I know like
yeah,
definitely
sure.
the items you sent Ilya is that like I think it's like these sort of microtransactions of like I would normally talk to a person or a friend to get their insight. You turn to AI and like that like look, I'm not using it like that. I'm sure I know somebody who does. I know a lot of people do use it for work, which is a different way of doing the same thing. Um, but like I think it's one of to me it's one of
Well,
those things that is. I don't know if it's good or bad.
I have a friend who
okay,
argues with ChatGPT actually.
Wow. That's
When
amazing. Fight
argues.
ChatGPT,
back.
yeah, when ChatGPT doesn't deliver, he writes, you said that and you didn't create that, and I'm waiting for like some time to load, and then ChatGPT gets defensive, and it's an interesting spiral of conversation. What's
y-
interesting there, though, is that
Huh.
ChatGPT flatters you. I've got
Right.
that in my it tries to actually defend itself. It flatters you. I mean, I've seen his conversation and his conversations, and ChatGPT goes like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right," which is rather weird because
Okay,
you wouldn't expect that from an agent.
Right.
no, well, so this is an interesting, it's well documented since the beginning of since the first launch of ChatGPT. I went to a conference called Brand AI in 2000 in 2023 that
Damn.
friend of the show Noah Breyer puts on, and in that first AI conference they talked about how the performance of the models got better if you were nice to them. In other words, if
Hmm,
Huh.
you used courteous language and you said please and you said so. But then it
really?
then it also revealed that the models got even better if you were mean to the models. If you were
Just
essentially
like
like,
people,
no, you're
just like
getting this wrong. I really need a better
Right.
answer. And it's sort of well, but I guess that's the whole thing. It's like it follows it follows our human behavior and written language, right? Like it's
Right.
we are taught essentially to be. I mean, and this is one of the things that worries me about management culture becoming therapy culture, management culture, et cetera,
yeah.
being too widely proliferated is like if the starting point is trying to find a an alignment only from only after which you can then find disagreement, like we are limiting our ability to
Hmm.
tell the truth in a pretty significant way.
Mhm. True. If you get
I
in a
mean, I
conversation with, I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
no, I was just gonna say is that like it's all of this is fascinating, and I think like to me the thing that's interesting is that like yes, like you push the model and you're mean to it, or and like it's getting better, it's giving you better information, but like is it are you like I'm so curious because like the I think what's sort of unsaid in this sort of like conversation about like well people are using AI as their companion or whatever like yes some people are marrying it and like that's a little bit like that's kooky sure that's like real kooky but like the people who are say using it for therapy or companion or whatever in like the really sort of like minimal ways like are they actually applying what is being given to them because like I think there's an argument to be made that there is a type of person in general and I've known these people and in some ways I've probably been this person where you do go to therapy and like your therapist tells you something and or they just reinforce tell you what you want to hear number one or number
Yeah.
two where you don't listen to them and you don't change like you don't do that labor but you're talking about it you feel like you've done it so like is like if people were taking action on these things like I think it would be like not bad at all but I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure that that's actually happening therein lies the problem all across the board of like talking to my boss or working through your own personal problems or whatever, like if you're not actually taking the action on it, you're not doing the homework, then
Yeah.
like it doesn't matter. Like it's yeah, then you're getting the negative. But like I'm not sure. I think that's to be decided. Ilya, you were going to say something. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking that sometimes I've read recently an article about AI psychosis, and it's when
Oh yeah.
you bombarded with weird things, and then it tells you, yeah, go ahead, kill the queen or something, and then you act on
Hmm.
that, which is the bad part of the story. But on the other hand, I think it's crucial here to. I'm sorry, yeah, it's a fact. I read it. Okay. On the other hand, what bothers me is why does Gen Z actually need to chat with an agent about the friend or their personal, I don't know, issues? What's wrong with having a real friend? Is it easier?
Well,
Is it not judgmental? Just
I think
curious.
that's exactly that. I think is what people are sort of bristling against because like I think it then dovetails into like the male loneliness epidemic and
Yeah,
younger people not
incest.
going
Hmm.
out and meeting people. So that's like I think where, and I agree, like that's where it becomes really problematic. Is like if you're then substituting that relationship with that, and like there was one of the articles, I think it was one of the ones you sent, Ilya, that said something about like like these are relationships, so like you should things you should be talking to through with like a partner or with like
right.
it's a friend, but like someone who you have a really close relationship with, like a partner or a relative or whatever. And like by sort of dissolving that, then like you're not then actually sharing and learning and like yeah. So like that is
Okay.
concerning.
So, a corollary to that, the idea of not learning anything. Um, Kyle Chayka's story in the New Yorker about the revenge of millennial cringe.
Oh, that was
Kyle,
also very nice.
Kyle, I'm going to tee you up here as our millennial.
Hey, I mean, look,
How much has Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros wounded culture or benefited culture?
look, hey, I do think he defined a 2010s era. Like, there are even like songs I will hear across Europe that are like, it takes me to this moment where I'm like, I'm at like Sycamore Kitchen on La Brea in like
Oh my god.
2013, and I'm turning to Bobby and going like, this song sucks. If I hear another like clap stop song, I'm gonna die. And so like
The
it does a good job of like time traveling you, which I
Well,
enjoy. But
I have to say, given all of the fervor around this stomp clap discussion discourse, um, over the weekend we live across the valley from a wedding venue, and I started to
oh my
hear
God.
stomp clap
No, no.
stuff happening, and I was like, oh my god, the stomp clap thing is real. But it turned out it was just the band sound checking. It was
Oh,
just
Okay.
okay.
the.
Okay, that's better.
But that's
But I
how much
think
this is how I've been incepted to the degree that I'm hearing stomp clap everywhere now, even in
that
just
is
normal sound checks.
really funny. And like the thing about the millennial stomp clap ish, like I don't even think that many say millennial people liked it. Maybe it was more bridge and tunnel, let's say, or like more people in the suburbs um, who liked it. But it dovetails into something that's happening now. Like I don't think we would have, and I don't listen to these people. I don't even think I've outside of Benson Boone. I don't think I've heard a song. It's like the Benson Boone, the Teddy Swims, the Alex Warren people. Like they are descendants of that culture, and like which
Yeah.
somebody I'm forgetting who the person who runs OK Zoomer wrote it for. I think Yahoo Entertainment, but it was about how that music is like non-church music, and like that's exactly what it
Mm.
is. It's a
That's
sort of
very
like this
profound.
secular like yeah, I was like, this is like this is exactly what it is. And that's what stomp clap. Like when you technically think about that sort of language, to me, I think of sort of like
Church, yeah.
church. I think of Pentecostal Southern Baptist churches where like they were doing that. And like that's sort of, and having been in those spaces, like that was a big part of building community and being together was
Yeah.
like literally stomping and clapping for the Lord. And so like it's funny that like that Edward Sharpe in that moment wasn't tied to like church youth groups or whatever. And like now I think that we're seeing the echoes of it those dots are being connected. And like to your point, Ilya, like I read that and I was like, this is so profound. Like this is like that's exactly it. Like it is so, and like whether it's tapping into your youth or your whatever, or
Hmm.
your whether you are churchy or not, it's tapping into something that to me I think is like it's a bit of a psyop. It's like a bit of this sort of like it's tapping into something that you don't even know that you want or need or long
Yeah,
for or you're
Sure.
already participating
exactly.
in. That is like going beyond millennial, but like that millennial cringe thing, like we wouldn't be in this space without that.
Yeah.
The
It's
interesting,
fun.
Ilya, chime in, but I just want to add one quick aside, which I think is instructive. Alex Ebert, who from Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros, DJ'd a party that I threw once in his previous guise as the lead singer of I Am a Robot, the electro clash band from LA, like
Wow.
early indie sleaze. And so each of these things has its DNA in some other weird space, and it enters this zone of universality and gets shot out of a cannon into relevance. Elliot, what were you going to jump in with?
Um, I was thinking that there's a close connection between those two topics. We discussed about Gen Z actually connecting with chatbots, and then we
Mm,
kind of discussed about the loss of spirituality in a sense, and the return of
Mm-hmm.
nostalgia. That's a case of nostalgic spirituality, at least to communities that
yeah,
they connect the dots, as you say, Kyle, with church experience. Because here in
Mm-hmm.
Greece we're Orthodox Christians and we don't have church music, so it's something we can actually relate. It's something that we do understand. I
Wow.
do know that, but we can't actually relate to something like that. But in essence, what comes back is this type of connection that comes through groups and the
Mm-hmm.
connection that comes through spirituality. And if you see Gen Z, you'll see that they're trying to find this essence everywhere in anything. This rise of wellness stuff is actually a quest for something that has a deeper meaning. It's
right.
rather than the feed.
Yeah.
A search for
Yeah.
deeper meaning from somewhere other than a chatbot
I mean,
Exactly.
who
it's
can.
like this is the thing. Like I like it's yeah, like that's exactly it. It's like, you have your church soundtrack from a secular place. You have your like your clergy person, your priest from a secular place, a robot. You have your like sort of like all these sort of like attributes that sort of are creating a church, the nostalgia of it, the lore. Like you have these things that sort of like otherwise would be church, or you would get it from
Yeah.
church. And like there are, say, young people, but or people of all ages who are turning back to church, but like it's so interesting to me because like I'm a former churchy person. Like I went through that ringer and like I'm not going back. Like I don't
Mhm.
like some like when I was really depressed like a few years ago, I was like, maybe we should go to church, and I was like, no, not happening. But like it's this all gets at that sort of like longing for that. So I don't know if that's right or good or bad thing, because like I do think there are a lot of redeeming values in a spiritual practice when they're hijacked by like politics, and that's true across the whole world. They're hijacked by an agenda, conservative agenda, then it becomes bad.
Yeah.
But like I do think a lot of these sort of like problems that we're talking about and what people are turning to is from that sort of like loss of a cohesive center. Not that it needs to be, a specific religion, but like I do think that that's what people are sort of longing for. It's sort of that joke about like, longing to be working in the fields, or like
Mm.
cooking in like an old
Right.
hearth or whatever. Like it's that sort of like, our ancestral practices that we've had. And like I think that some part of those things are true, but like part of it is a bit like, yeah, well, you're not going outside for a walk enough, and like you should.
Yeah. We're
It's
missing the
it's
experiences.
weird outside though.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
weird outside. I,
It's
I, I mean,
God.
I don't know. The, the whole thing. I find the whole thing really interesting because it's like, of course, we are all yearning for some level of human connection. We are all rebelling against this over screenified, over digitalized kind of universe, and yet we have a hard time expressing that desire in any way but memes and
Yeah.
sort of the parlance of the day, which sort of cycles us back into those extremely online behaviors again. Bit bizarre.
Flipping this though, like, because
Okay.
these are very younger, like millennial and below, quote unquote, conversations. So, like, is this like, I'm curious, like, don't hear about this enough. Bless you. Is that like, does this conversation is a sort of like loss of spiritual and like searching for whatever secular meaning or whatever, like, is that trickling up as well? Like, are there sort of like, I'm making this up, but like a dinner party amongst Gen X peers where like these conversations arise too, or is it truly just like below?
Oh,
Does that
no,
make
no.
sense?
I mean, it does. Look, and Ilya, please chime in here based on what if anything you hear on this side. But for me, the Gen X cohort that I keep company with is very interested in being current, in not getting disintermediated by the rise of millennial CEOs and so on, as I'm sure we'll talk about later. So we're very, very concerned about this. I think that to return to a common theme of this podcast, though, a lot of it is a little bit of a shaking our heads, going like, can you believe the kids are this turned up about it? Just wait for them to go through this cycle a couple more times, and then they'll be in the same place we are, which is like, this isn't real, guys. It's not. These are fake concerns.
Totally. Fair.
That being the case, you then teleport yourself back into the mindset of somebody who is 24, 25, and as I was in 99 when Y2K was coming up, and it's like, hey, what if we're going to go to New Year's Eve on Times Square, which I actually did the year 2000, and it's like,
oh my God,
what if the lights all go out? Like, what happens? And so you can't help but make a big deal about it because you're just totally insecure. You don't know what the answers will be. Whereas I think all of us now are like, we need to be conversant with this, but we also kind of know what the answer is going to be. Like, the answer is going to be something else is going to replace this soon after.
Yeah, that's true. Because that's
Well,
like,
it's a trend. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, Ilya, jump in.
I was just gonna say that from what I observe here in Greece, it's something that's happening. Younger people are actually tuning in with religion more than they used to be, and there's actually much conversation here about people actually turning into Orthodox Christianity again. It used to be denying it, used to be a part of rebelling against our parents. See?
Right.
And now we have Gen X, for example, or Gen Z mostly, that they're coming back to churches, which is weird for me as a millennial, borderline millennial. It's kind of weird, but it does happen here. So I guess it happens elsewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, there's like there is really quickly, because I put this for this upcoming weekend's newsletter. It's like, I feel like there's becoming a European conversation about like dogs are replacing kids, but then like, to me, like what that is also getting at, because I've also seen it from like more right-wing media, is that like they're gonna come for the dogs in the sense of like, don't get a dog, you should be having a kid and going to church. You know what I mean? So that was a really interesting thing that I was like starting to tune in on, because like there was an FT story about this in Italy, and like they noted that even though like Giorgia Meloni and whoever is supporting it, Pope Francis, which I missed, was like, no, like people should be having more kids. They shouldn't be having more dogs. And I was like, oh, I missed that storyline. That's wild. So like, JD Vance very soon is going to talk about it.
There's a Ben Shapiro actual podcast where he urges people to actually, young people to actually get a family, or urges them to adopt the values they used to have, their parents used to have, which is really weird to see now happening.
Right.
Like, he has a whole lot
Give people money.
That values.
I'm not surprised. Not surprised.
No. Well, I mean, considering that tradwife was entered in the dictionary, in the Cambridge dictionary as of this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Good for us.
what was it? Skibbity and
Skibidi,
Tradwife,
Tradwife, and not
among
one
other
is missing.
among others.
How on
for
earth
us.
would
Oh
someone
man.
use Skibidi? How on earth?
Right.
Can you probably use, I mean, I'm not
I,
an English speaker, but Skibidi?
Granted,
the
I do think you probably know more than I do, Ben, but like I feel like younger people were like, that's so skibbity, or like
oh yeah, the kids.
yeah, like I feel like it was used as like almost like a expletive.
Okay.
My kids even so Ilya, my kids are basically 16 and 19. They're too old for skibbity, but the kids a couple of grades below my daughter, right, who are probably touching 14 now. Skibbity was very much a thing. There's a amazing follow, by the way, on Instagram. This guy Phil, I think it's Phil Lindsay. He's a middle school teacher someplace in America, and he does a weekly slang update on what the middle schoolers are saying, and
Oh my
it's
God, that's great.
incredibly instructive and very funny. But no, skibbity was very much an active term, which is amazing. Now, on the other hand, I haven't heard anybody use it even in like in that context in a couple of months. So you also wonder how durable it is and who's making dictionary decisions about terms that are effectively ephemeral. Wow, that was a lot of alliteration just then.
I was going to say is that like I feel like there's going to be already a think piece 10 years on about like the words we lost, because I feel like there's so many like laboo-boo, skibbity, things like this that will sort of live in a graveyard of words that don't get used, but they got quote unquote added to the non-physical dictionary because they defined a time. I'm like, that's great, like, that's really important, but like I don't think skibbity, to your point, like nobody, it may come back around on a carousel as a joke in like 200 100 years, in the way that like some random words or people discover because they're like, oh wow, I forgot this word existed, and then it's the rest is history. But like it's not going to be no.
So Ili, here's a question for you. Like we've talked on this podcast before about the idea of English being the language of the internet, and I think there's probably not a great deal of dispute to that. But what I wonder is, to what extent brain rot terms like that show up in Greek native, like in native Greek conversations. Are you switching into cognates like labubu and skibbity frequently? Is that
What's weird is that we're not Greek is a language that's not Latin oriented, so we actually
right, sure.
It's very difficult to translate things in Greek. If you have an idea of Russian, it's kind of similar. So I see it everywhere, and it gets funnier because we have a language that doesn't actually support this kind of terms. But I do hear CBD a lot, actually, from kids. My friends' kids actually used to say chat about the thing of skibidi toilet all the time.
Yeah, of course.
Insanely. But the thing is that
poop jokes are universal.
Yeah,
Totally.
okay, yeah, totally. I mean, Shakespeare has some very, very, very interesting ones. But
Yeah,
I
true,
used to have a
true.
teacher actually in English, because I went to the University of Kent at some point, and he told me that what's ruining English becoming universal language is what's actually ruining English, because everyone's using them in their own way.
Sure.
I speak the Greek version of English, and I'm not talking about the accent. I'm talking about the way I structure my thinking, and everyone's using it in their own terms. So English isn't the language it used to be, say, in the 19th, 17th century. It's more robotic now. That's what I mean. So in that sense, you can use KVD, you can use, I don't know, Tradwife, because it's codified.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Ben, you probably, and you, Kai, are probably native English speakers, so you understand,
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying, that the language is becoming weaker.
That's so interesting.
Of course. I mean, we don't have to think any further than your Duolingo lessons to understand how your native way of composition and sentence structure will inform the way that you answer questions in a foreign language or address in a foreign language. But it is interesting to think that it's being diminished, though, because you would think more people, more inputs. It's a little bit like LLMs, maybe. More people, more input, things would get better. And in fact,
So how do you feel?
maybe they
Do you
don't.
feel
Maybe
it's
they.
better from your side? I mean, from
Well, I mean, look,
Mm.
I think. I mean, I would like more people to speak English because it makes it easier for me, right? It's a highly selfish way of viewing things.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I also think is, is there a much less of a focus on quote unquote proper English because of the fact that you can get by not speaking proper English in many more contexts than might have been true in the past? Yeah, I do think that's true. It's like I have a running joke with my kids where if their friends will come over and I'll say, "How are you doing?" and they'll say good, and I'll say, "No, you're not doing good. Like I didn't see you volunteering at the church over the weekend. You're doing well. You're doing fine. Like it's like describe the adjective. Like give me an adjective to describe how you're actually feeling, not good, because good's that's not the correct answer." And my kid, like I do this, and serious producer Campbell will attest to it. My kids roll their eyes. They're like, Jesus Christ, Dad.
I was gonna say that is a
nobody talks like that.
A huge dadism. That is like
oh yeah,
a dadism that transcends generations. I feel like my dad did the same thing. He's not Gen X.
Oh yeah, no, but Vicky and I, or who's going to the mall? Vicky and I. No, you're not. Vicky,
okay.
I are going to the mall. No. Anyway, sorry, Dad.
Well, my mother used to be a teacher of French and Greek in school, so we
Oh really?
I mean we were getting corrected all the time, and I mean you had to speak the proper way, otherwise you would get corrected again and again and again. So I feel you, and I feel for your kids as well.
Well, all right. So to that end, this actually brings us to a final story for the week, which is where I was gonna start before we got distracted by performative males, which is there was a story that Elizabeth Spears wrote in the New York Times over the weekend about how Gen X should stop bitching about millennials and Gen Zs and get over it and accept the fact that we will not be, rulers of the world the way it was promised to us or something. The thesis of this whole thing obviously is rage baity and a bit stupid, but I think like the thing I find a couple of things interesting about it. One is that Elizabeth Spears, I don't know if you guys know this, but she was the founding editor at Gawker. And so she has a lot of, proverbial blood on her hands in terms of getting into complaint culture or narc culture or whatever it is.
Crafting.
That's one thing.
A lot of
on the other hand, yeah. But I think it's reflective of something that we touch here a lot, which is just basically like, stop complaining, do your work. It's hard for everybody. Nobody is representative of an entire sector. Can we stop talking about this? And I don't know if you guys feel any differently, but that's just, I read it and I was just like, oh, why are we talking about this?
I think stories like that, specifically the Gen X story, whether it's like, come on guys, like we're like everybody else, or like we are so unique, is like I feel like that is just a winning economy. It's like, you're playing the stock market as an editor, and like you're gonna hit jackpot every time, because like it is, to your point, it's designed to be rage bait, or it's designed to be reactive. And like I think, so here's like, let's get big brain about this. It's like, because this conversation happens like every other week, definitely every month, at least every other week maybe, like, is that sort of like approach, or that sort of like feeling, or not feeling like that, the need to discuss this And like I know you use the phrase rage bait to describe it. Like, is that
I don't race bait,
perhaps
to be very clear. I do
True.
not race. I never
It
ever.
is, maybe that is like a unique Gen X attribute, like this like discussion or this need to sort of like, you know what I mean? Like it's hard to sort of
Yeah,
articulate,
I know what
but
you
like
mean, but I would definitely put that on millennials rather than on Gen X. So
that's a hot take.
yeah.
Interesting.
Ilya, what do you think?
Well, the thing is, I kind of sympathize with Gen X because they are facing difficulties that we didn't. So far they've been
Fair.
through a pandemic, they've been through war discussions here and there, they've been through an economy that's not actually booming and whatever. So they've been through a superfluous, if I'm correctly pronouncing it, way of living through the feed, through their social media. So I kind of feel their rage against millennials that had some things sorted out a little bit. At least in our heads, things were a bit more sorted, and then this generation comes up and then they have nothing to rely on because
Wait,
it always
you're
has to
talking
do
about
with the
Gen Z though,
economy.
aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm
Gen X
talking
though.
about Gen Z and Gen X, same. But Gen X is
Oh, okay.
but Gen X
Interesting.
is they're actually
Secretly
facing the same.
bedfellows. I like that idea.
Yeah, they're
I like that
actually. I
idea.
think they're
That-
actually connect on
We're gonna
that.
form a coalition. We're gonna form a coalition government with Gen Z, and
I
then
can
we'll
see
be
that.
able to rule.
But why don't we
Yeah.
all work together and take down the boomers? That's what this all gets at. That's what like
Oh, I
drives me
just
crazy.
remembered. I just remembered that Madonna had a birthday cake, and there was in the shape of a labubu, which
Yeah.
further emphasizes the point that they're everywhere. They might be
Yeah.
actually
It's
behind your
true.
back, like a thriller.
And
See?
the cake
Yeah.
said Madudu, which is
Yeah.
incredible. I was like, this is
what?
Madonna for
Yeah.
her. I think it was like 60.
It's 60th, right?
Two or
is it-
67. No, it was something.
Oh, she's older than
within
that?
the
Yeah, yeah.
60s.
Okay,
She's older
makes
than that. But like the cake, it was a giant labubu with giant like pendulous breast, and
Yep.
it said "Happy Birthday, Madudu," and like incredible. I was like, "This is Madonna. This is great. This is so
Thank
good."
God
Wow.
she didn't do a skibbity toilet cake.
True,
Madudu.
true.
Oh, that's so brutal. Another, the famous. Speaking of boomers, Paul Simon lyric: "Every generation throws a hero up the pop charts." From Boy in the Bubble. This is our generation's hero being thrown up the pop charts and coming back down. Olabubu. Oh dear God.
Madudu.
All right. Well, guys, this has been fascinating as always. Ilya, thank you for joining us, and thanks for
Thank you.
turning off the fan
I
in the
love
background.
that.
You could get that back turned on so you can cool down again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ilya, where do the kids find you to continue to follow your work?
Okay, mostly on my Substack, which is the Style title. And I do editorial work, but that has to be, usually in printed magazines. I used to be the features editor for Seven Hollywood, so if they grab a print copy, they probably find out my work. But mostly on my Substack, where I explore things
Okay.
that have to do with fashion and its intersection with pop culture. That's my thing.
I love that. Love it. All right, so the Style title on Substack. Kyle's at the Trend Report. I'm at Sick Weekly and Sick Day, and we're all here every Monday for hip replacement. Ilya, thank you for joining us again. This has been really fun,
Thank
and
you. I
looking
love
forward
that.
to talking further too. We did too. All right, well, listen, we will be back next week, but in the meantime, everybody have a great week, and Kyle, have fun outside of Stockholm.
Yeah, we'll do. Thanks everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.